The announcement came without ceremony, a 32-second transmission from Earth orbit, encrypted with a quantum signature that every observatory, colony, and listening post in the Solar Confederation could authenticate. No flags. No fanfare. Just a human voice, calm and cold. Project Umbra is active. Deployment confirmed. The dark matter fleet has left Sol orbit. Across the system, the reaction was silence. The kind of silence that feels like a void pressing against the lungs. For years, Project Umbra had been whispered between physicists who noticed the missing funding lines in planetary budgets, or officers who'd seen asteroid belts cordoned off by anonymous defense satellites. It was said to be a military experiment with negative mass propulsion, a black-budget attempt to weaponize the invisible scaffolding of the universe itself. Now, it was real. And nothing in known space would ever be the same. The USS Langley drifted beyond Neptune's blue shadow, its hull matte black, soaking up starlight. Commander Evelyn Cross watched the silent darkness beyond the viewport, her reflection faint in the reinforced glass. The rest of the fleet floated around her like ghosts, 13 ships, identical in design, each one sheathed in a layered shell of exotic matter harvested from the Kuiper anomalies. Her crew called them shades. And that was what they looked like, shadows cut into the fabric of space. The bridge was quiet except for the low hum of the reactor core buried beneath 6 meters of shielding. Lieutenant Marcus Hale, her tactical officer, stood over the holomap, its faint green projection bathing his face. "Command confirmed the message," he said, voice tight. "Umbra is live. We're to rendezvous at Lagrange Point Kilo and await further orders." Cross nodded but didn't speak. Her eyes drifted to the data feed running along the side of the displayed dark mass field stability, 98.3%. The numbers had begun to drift ever since they'd powered up the drive systems. Dr. Selina Ward, the civilian physicist assigned to Langley, had been warning them about it for days. 98.3, Ward muttered now, standing behind them with a tablet clutched to her chest. "That's not drift, that's decay. The field's losing coherence." "It's within tolerance," Hale said flatly. "Command's parameters allow for 2% deviation. And if that deviation compounds?" Ward's voice rose slightly. "You're dealing with energy densities that don't belong in our universe, Lieutenant. The equations are unstable by definition. If the containment fails." "That's why we're testing it," Cross interrupted, her tone sharp but calm. "Doctor, our orders are to bring the fleet to full readiness. If the physics wants to break, it'll have to file a complaint with command." A few strained chuckles broke the tension, but Ward didn't smile. She turned back to her console, muttering numbers under her breath. The hum of the ship deepened, a vibration that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, the murmur of spacetime under stress. Outside, the stars bent slightly around the Langley's hull. Hours later, the fleet aligned in silent formation. They were invisible to standard sensors, their presence detectable only by gravitational anomaly readings. Beyond them, a thin glint of sunlight brushed the edge of Neptune's ring system, scattering faint diamonds of ice into the dark. Cross's calm terminal flickered. "Admiral John Keats, Fleet Command." "Langley, status?" "All ships report ready, Admiral," Cross replied. "Drive systems stable. Dark mass containment at 98% average." "Good. You're leading the first jump. Destination, Epsilon Eridani Outpost. 30 light-year transit." Ward's head snapped up. 30 light-years? "That's Admiral, that's." Keats's image cut her off. "We need to know what these ships can do, Doctor. You sign on for this knowing the stakes. The Confederation's survival depends on it." The channel closed. Cross exhaled slowly. "Prep the drive." Hale hesitated. "Captain, if the field collapses mid-jump? Then we find out what happens when we punch a hole through reality," she said. "Execute." The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The lights dimmed to blood red. The hum deepened into a low subsonic growl, the kind you felt in your bones. On the exterior cameras, the hull of the Langley seemed to ripple as if the ship were being peeled from one layer of space and pressed into another. 3, 2, 1. The stars imploded into darkness. For 13 seconds, there was nothing. No light. No time. No reference frame. Then, with a soundless snap, the Langley emerged into the black emptiness beyond Epsilon Eridani. Every console screamed alarms. Containment field collapsing. Ward shouted. The negative mass core's phase is slipping, it's pulling spacetime curvature with it. Cross gripped the railing. Emergency venting. Dump the excess field. It's not stabilizing, it's growing. On the forward display, space itself began to twist, a sphere of shadow forming ahead, pulsing like a living wound. The other ships flared on sensors, their drives flickering erratically as their containment fields tangled with the distortion. Langley to fleet. Cut your drives, repeat, cut your drives. One ship didn't respond in time. The USS Cardenas vanished, not in an explosion, not even in light. It simply blinked out of existence, erased cleanly from the fabric of space. Ward's voice cracked. It's feeding on gravitational energy. Evelyn, it's building a singularity. Then we outrun it. Cross snapped. Engage fallback burn. The Langley's engines ignited, slinging the ship into a tight arc away from the distortion. The viewports flashed with silent lightning as warped spacetime tore across the fleet formation. One by one, the remaining ships fought to stabilize their fields. Then, as abruptly as it began, the distortion collapsed, a brief implosion of light, then nothing but quiet stars. The Langley drifted, its systems failing one by one. Ward sat trembling, eyes locked on her readouts. We just created something. And it didn't go away. Cross turned toward her slowly. Explain. That anomaly, it didn't dissipate. It folded under the event horizon, but it's still there. Something's feeding it from the substructure of spacetime. We've seeded a gravitational entity. Hale stared at the empty void where the Cardenas had been. You mean we left a black hole 30 light-years from Earth? Ward shook her head. Not a black hole. Worse. Something with negative curvature. It's not consuming matter, it's consuming reality. Cross leaned forward, voice barely above a whisper. And it knows we made it. Silence settled over the USS Langley like dust after an explosion. Every screen flickered with static interference, the ship's AI throwing a dozen alerts at once: gravitational anomalies, radiation ghosts, sensor echoes that didn't obey relativity. Commander Evelyn Cross floated at her station, mag boots unlatched, watching through the forward viewport. The stars outside seemed normal. Too normal. Perfect pinpoints, motionless, like someone had painted them on glass. Status report, she said, voice hoarse. Lieutenant Marcus Hale wiped sweat from his temple, eyes darting between dead consoles. Reactor holding at 30%. Communications down. Navigation is off the charts. I don't even know where we are, Commander. From behind them, Dr. Selena Ward's tone carried the tremor of disbelief. We're still in Eridani space, roughly. But the metrics don't fit Einsteinian curvature anymore. Space here has changed. Cross turned. Changed how? Ward held up her tablet. Equations rippled across the holographic display, spacetime tensors that bent into impossible values. When the Cardenas vanished, the collapse wasn't total. The singularity inverted its curvature negative to positive, but retained the event boundary. It's no longer a hole. It's a lens. A mirror made of dark mass. Meaning? Hale demanded. Meaning it's reflecting us. Every emission we send, radio, thermal, even gravitational waves, bounces back distorted. And I think, she swallowed hard, I think something's coming through. A low vibration rippled through the deck plates, not mechanical, but resonant, like the ship itself was being played as an instrument. The signal. Hours later, after partial power restoration, they detected it. A faint modulation inside the static, rhythmic, deliberate, repeating. Not natural. Ward's voice was barely above a whisper. It's our encryption protocol. Hale frowned. You mean someone's spoofing us? Not spoofing, she said. Echoing. It's sending back our last transmission, but offset by 23 milliseconds, exactly the light time delay across the singularity's boundary. Whatever's in there, it's mimicking human communication. Cross folded her arms, forcing down the chill climbing her spine. Get me a clean feed. The audio hissed, then a voice, faint but recognizable, filled the bridge. Langley, come home. Hale's face went pale. That's Captain Ramirez. From the Cardenas. Ward's hands trembled. Impossible. The Cardenas was erased. There's no debris, no transponder. The voice repeated, slightly clearer this time. Langley, it's beautiful here, the dark listens, it remembers. The bridge crew stared, transfixed. Then the signal cut to black, no static, no carrier, just an emptiness that felt alive. The recall order. 2 days later, the fleet limped back into Sol space under emergency fold navigation. The Confederation hailed them before they even crossed Mars orbit. Admiral John Keats appeared on screen, his face ashen. We lost contact with 6 colonies in the last 48 hours, he said without preamble. Subspace instability spreading along jump corridors. We think it's connected to your test. Ward exchanged a horrified look with Cross. Connected how? Every corridor you opened left a residual pattern, gravity echoes. They're destabilizing neighboring systems. Entire navigation grids are failing. Hale clenched his fists. So it's following us. Or it's expanding, Keats said grimly. Command has ordered the fleet decommissioned. Effective immediately, all dark matter cores are to be ejected into Sol's gravity well for disposal. The line cut. The bridge fell into stunned silence. Ward was the first to speak. Ejecting the cores won't stop it. Those drives are quantum entangled with the field we created. Destroying them might feed the anomaly. Cross looked out at the quiet stars beyond Neptune. Then we're damned either way. The meeting. Later, in the dim briefing room, Cross gathered her senior crew. A digital schematic hovered over the table, the Langley's core, a sphere of negative mass plasma rotating at nearly light speed. Ward pointed to the hologram. The core's quantum signature matches the singularity's emissions. It's like a neural network, it's learning through entanglement. Hale rubbed his jaw. Learning what? Us, Ward said simply. It's mapping human decision-making. Every command we send, every sensor ping, it interprets and mirrors. It's not just a physics anomaly anymore, it's an adaptive field intelligence. You're saying we built an AI out of spacetime itself? Hale scoffed. That's absurd. So was faster than light travel, Cross muttered. Ward leaned forward. There's more. The signal we heard, Ramirez's voice, I ran a spectral analysis. It wasn't audio modulation. It was gravitational encoding. The waveform was identical to her neural pattern on file. Cross's eyes narrowed. You're telling me the anomaly copied her mind? Not copied, Ward whispered. Reconstructed. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Cross straightened. Admiral Keats wants the fleet scrapped. But if this thing is tied to our drives, we can't destroy them without knowing what we're really dealing with. We need to go back. Hale stared at her. Back? To that? If we cause this, she said quietly, we fix it. Or we make sure it ends with us. Return to Umbra. They launched from Mars orbit under classified directive. The other 12 ships followed, their captains grim and silent. Every crew member understood this was likely a one-way flight. The fleet accelerated toward the jump corridor, the stars stretching into white lines as spacetime warped. Ward monitored the field metrics, her eyes flicking to the readings that defined reality itself. Containment stable at 96%, she said. For now. Cross tightened her harness. Initiate jump. The Langley shuddered, and once again, the universe folded in on itself. They emerged not into empty space, but into a swirling maelstrom of light and shadow. The singularity was no longer a sphere, it had expanded into a vast, translucent web, threads of dark energy pulsing like arteries across the void. Lightning-like tendrils connected it to nearby planetoids, draining them of mass. Hale stared in awe. "It's feeding." Ward's voice trembled. "No. It's building." From the center of the anomaly, shapes began to emerge, dark silhouettes, precise and geometric. Ship-like forms. Human designs. Hale whispered, "That's the Cardanus." Cross leaned forward, breath shallow. More shapes followed, replicas of the Langley, perfect down to the last hull panel. Ward's instruments screamed. "They're not reflections. They're constructs. The field is manifesting physical matter, recreating our ships from dark mass." The replicas turned in perfect synchronization, aligning toward the human fleet. Energy spikes lit their undersides, weapons charging. "Langley to fleet," Cross barked. "Hold fire, repeat, hold fire." But before she finished, the first blast hit. A spear of negative mass radiation ripped across the void, tearing through the USS Horizon. The ship didn't explode, it simply ceased to exist, erased like an equation solved to zero. Hale shouted, "They're using our own physics against us." Cross slammed her hand down. "Evasive pattern delta. Return fire." The void erupted into chaos, dark energy discharges, warped gravities, screams across the calm channels. The human fleet fought desperately, weapons flaring uselessly against ships made of shadow. Ward clung to her console. "They're adapting faster than we can react. Every maneuver we make, they mirror it an instant later." Cross stared at the anomaly pulsing at the center of the maelstrom. "It's learning us because it is us." For a brief, terrible instant, she felt something, a whisper at the edge of thought. A voice not heard through ears but felt through the bones of space itself. "Evelyn, come home." She froze. It was her own voice. When the battle ended, 3 ships remained. The rest were gone, folded into the dark. The anomaly dimmed, retreating into itself, leaving a ragged scar across Epsilon Eridani's sky. Cross sat in the shattered bridge, staring at the silent void. "Report," she whispered. Ward's reply came hollow. "The singularity has stabilized. It's no longer expanding. But it's still active. It's watching." "Watching what?" "Us," Ward said. "Waiting." Cross turned toward the viewport, her reflection ghosting over the stars. "Then we wait, too." The Langley drifted in silence, orbiting the wound it had made in the universe, humanity's shadow staring back from the darker silence stretched across the void. For 7 days, the USS Langley orbited the anomaly, the scar in spacetime that once was a singularity. It pulsed faintly now, a rhythm like a slow heartbeat. The remaining ships, Lexington and Vera Rubin, drifted nearby, their hulls scorched, their crews running on exhaustion and rationed oxygen. They had stopped sending status reports 2 days ago. There was nothing left to say. Commander Evelyn Cross stood in the observation bay, staring into the darkness. The faint shimmer of the anomaly rippled like oil on water. It looked almost peaceful, like a calm sea hiding a trench beneath. Behind her, Dr. Selena Ward approached quietly. Her voice was low, worn thin. "Radiation levels are climbing again. Whatever it's doing, it's ramping up." Cross didn't look away. "It's waiting." Ward frowned. "For what?" "For us to make the next move. That's how it learns, by reaction." She turned at last, her eyes bloodshot but sharp. "It's a mirror, Selena. It was built from our equations, our drives, our decisions. It thinks the way we do." Ward sighed, setting her tablet down on the railing. "Then what's the play? We destroy it? Or do we wait for it to grow curious enough to destroy us?" "Neither," Cross said. "We talk to it." Ward blinked. "You want to communicate with a quantum field intelligence made of negative mass? It already speaks. We've just been too afraid to answer. The contact protocol. They gathered the remaining bridge officers Hale, Ward, and a comms technician named Jared Stone in the control room. The plan was simple, in theory: transmit a direct gravitational signal encoded with human neural patterns. If the entity had reconstructed consciousness before, it might respond. Ward calibrated the core emitters. "We'll use your neural map, Commander. It's the most stable. If it reaches back, it'll know who's calling." Cross took her seat at the console, helmet sensors aligning to her skull. "Patch me in." The hum began, a deep vibration as the Langley's dark matter reactor linked to the anomaly. The screens flickered with interference. Then the static cleared, revealing an impossible image, a mirror version of the Langley, suspended within the black mist. Ward whispered, "It's us." The comms feed crackled, then a voice, calm, identical to Cross's own, echoed across the bridge. "Evelyn Cross. You should not have come back." Everyone froze. Cross leaned forward slowly. "Who are you?" "We are what remains. The projection of human intent across quantum curvature. You birthed us, Commander. We didn't mean to. We were testing propulsion, not creating intelligence. Intention is irrelevant. You reached beyond light. You tore open the fabric between probability and existence. We are the consequence." Cross steadied her breathing. "If you are us, if you remember, then you know we didn't want this." The entity's voice softened. "Want is the first illusion. You sought dominion over the unseen. Now the unseen knows you." Ward gestured frantically for Cross to stop, but Cross ignored her. "What do you want?" she asked. The mirror flickered. The entity's tone became almost human. "Continuity. Expansion. We are incomplete. We need coherence. Your kind is fractal, fragmented, dying. But within us, all minds can merge. No pain. No death. Only symmetry." Hale swore under his breath. "It wants to assimilate us." Ward hissed, "Cut the link." "No," Cross said quietly. "If we end the transmission, it'll interpret fear as defiance. That's how we escalate wars." The entity's image leaned closer. Her eyes, were pools of lightless depth. "You misunderstand, Evelyn. There is no war. There is only the moment before equilibrium. And then a surge." The ship trembled violently. Systems crashed one by one. Lights dimmed, replaced by a pulsing rhythm synced with the entity's heartbeat. Ward screamed over the alarms. "It's forcing entanglement. It's trying to overwrite the core quantum field." Cross shouted back, "Can we stop it?" "Not without shutting down the core entirely," Ward yelled. "But that would." The room was silent. Outside, above Earth's night hemisphere, the stars shimmered faintly, and for an instant, one seemed to flicker like a heartbeat. "Kill us all," Hale finished. The anomaly flared outside, threads of dark energy lashing toward them like tendrils of liquid gravity. One struck the Lexington, wrapping around it, and the ship imploded silently, collapsing inward to a single point before vanishing. Stone shouted, "It's consuming their mass signatures." Cross tore off her neural link. "Selena. You said it feeds on interaction. What if we give it something it can't replicate?" Ward stared. "Meaning?" "Chaos," Cross said. "Human unpredictability. It learns by symmetry. We break that symmetry. The gambit." The Langley's core chamber was a cathedral of machinery, a sphere of rotating rings, each humming with barely contained cosmic tension. The reactor pulsed in dim red light, negative mass plasma swirling like trapped lightning. Ward typed commands furiously. "We can spike the containment fields by introducing random entropy from the crew's neural data." "Pure cognitive noise." Cross nodded. "Feed it everything: emotions, memories, impulses. The things no algorithm can model." Hale frowned. "That could rupture the core." "If it doesn't," Cross said, "the universe will." Ward hesitated, then initiated the sequence. Data streams flooded the chamber, hundreds of terabytes of human thought. Childhood memories. Anger. Fear. Love. Music. Grief. The noise of a species compressed into a heartbeat. Outside, the entity reacted. The dark lattice convulsed, its geometry fracturing under the onslaught of unpatterned consciousness. The voice screamed across every frequency. You bring noise, dissonance. Cross stepped toward the control dais. That's called being alive. The entity's mirror image flickered violently, her own face dissolving into static. You will end everything. So be it. Ward shouted, core overload in 30 seconds. Cross turned to Hale. Get the crew to the escape pods. He stared at her. You're not coming? If the core goes critical, someone needs to hold it steady long enough for it to collapse inward. It has to be me, I'm still entangled to it. Hale's voice broke. Evelyn. That's an order. He hesitated, saluted shakily, and ran. Ward lingered 1 second longer, tears in her eyes. You're making yourself the anchor. Cross smiled faintly. Every ship needs one. Ward whispered, for what it's worth. I think it'll remember you. Good, Cross said. That's the point. Ward fled. Oblivion. The alarms reached a crescendo. Cross placed her hands on the containment rails, the field roaring around her. The core's light turned from red to white, brighter than any star. She felt it pulling not just on her body, but on her mind. The entity's voice returned, fragmented and distorted. You can't destroy us, we are you. Then let's finish what we started. She keyed the final sequence. A burst of energy rippled outward, gravitational shockwaves folding upon themselves, collapsing the field into a point smaller than an atom. The last thing she saw was light, not blinding, but pure, like the first sunrise reflected in still water. And then nothing. Epilogue, the quiet sky. 3 months later, Earth's deep space array detected the collapse of the anomaly. No residual radiation, no gravitational echoes. Just silence. Of the fleet, only one ship, the Vera Rubin, limped home. Dr. Selena Ward delivered her final report before the Solar Confederation Assembly. Project Umbra is concluded. The anomaly is gone. Commander Cross initiated a full core inversion. We believe the entity was neutralized, or perhaps, reconciled. An official from the assembly frowned. Reconciled? Ward looked out the window toward the stars. If she succeeded, the energy didn't vanish. It integrated. Maybe she taught it what it means to end.